They were found without their heads. Deep beneath layers of ancient stone and forgotten soil, archaeologists are uncovering human remains and statues that seem to follow a disturbing pattern. Missing heads, ritual placements, and inexplicable details that don't fit neatly into known history. These findings aren't myths. They're real, documented, and they point to something far stranger than folklore. What if the stories of headless creatures, monsters once dismissed as legend, were actually based on something concrete? Today, you're about to witness 5 archaeological discoveries from different parts of the world, each eerily connected by a single chilling theme: the absence of the head and the presence of mystery. From temples lost in the jungles to bodies frozen in time, these aren't just fragments of history. They're warnings, carved in stone, sealed in graves, and waiting to be decoded. Throughout time, humanity has created myths to explain the unexplainable. But what happens when archaeology starts to prove those myths weren't so mythical after all? Across continents, excavations have unearthed disturbing consistencies. Skeletons with their heads missing or repositioned, ancient carvings of beings without faces, and temples adorned with decapitated figures. These are not isolated incidents. They form a pattern. In this video, we'll explore 5 chilling discoveries that challenge our understanding of ancient civilizations and confront the uncomfortable possibility that legends of headless beings were rooted in something real. Each case is backed by archaeological reports, expert analysis, and photographic evidence. This isn't about superstition. It's about the growing pile of physical proof suggesting we might be missing an entire chapter of human history. One written in silence, blood, and missing skulls. Our first stop is the ancient city of Xochicalco, nestled in the highlands of central Mexico. Among the ruins of this once thriving ceremonial center, archaeologists have uncovered an array of headless stone figures. While some believe these statues were simply damaged by time or looters, the consistency and symbolism suggest something more deliberate. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, for example, contains carvings of decapitated deities, possibly linked to rituals of cosmic renewal or sacrifice. Mesoamerican codices describe gods who walk without heads, beings that descended from the stars or rose from the underworld. Is it possible that what we now see as myth was once a direct account of ancient beliefs or encounters? With each excavated statue and each unearthed altar, the line between spiritual practice and something much darker begins to blur. Next, we travel to Roman Britain, specifically the city of York, where a mass grave of over 80 decapitated skeletons was discovered. These weren't ordinary burials. The heads were placed with intentional precision, often between the knees or facing backward on the shoulders. Forensic analysis confirmed that most of the individuals were male, physically robust, and showed signs of healed injuries, possibly gladiators or soldiers. But even with that context, the scale and uniformity are unsettling. Roman historians documented exotic rituals brought back from conquered lands, and some even mention strange cults that revered beings who could live without heads. Could this graveyard be more than a resting place for fallen fighters? Could it be an echo of a forgotten rite, a practice so bizarre it was wiped from mainstream memory? As we piece together bones and history, we're left with more questions than answers. Across the deserts of northeastern Africa, ancient writers described a race of beings known as the Blemmies, headless humanoids with faces on their chests, said to inhabit the edges of the known world. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as myth or metaphor. But archaeological findings in the Nubian region, particularly among burial sites from the Meroitic period, complicate that narrative. Several grave carvings depict figures with no discernible heads, yet with detailed anatomy below the neck. Could these be stylized representations? Or were ancient artists recording what they truly believed they saw? Some scholars propose that blemmies might have been real tribes with cultural or physical traits that gave rise to exaggerated depictions. Others entertain the possibility that something stranger once walked the earth, something so shocking it could only be explained through distorted legend. In this case, archaeology isn't just supporting the myth, it's dragging it into the light. Deep in the jungles of Cambodia stands Angkor Wat, a monumental temple complex filled with intricate stone carvings. Among its many detailed reliefs are several images that have left researchers puzzled for decades. Humanoid figures with no visible heads, or with heads that seem too small, misplaced or obscured by halos and shadow-like designs. While mainstream interpretations suggest symbolic meanings tied to Buddhist and Hindu cosmology, some experts argue these figures represent something else entirely, beings that were deliberately depicted without human heads. Could these carvings be artistic representations of otherworldly visitors, spiritual entities, or even real individuals who didn't fit the human mold? As we digitally reconstruct the worn-down walls, more of these figures begin to emerge, not just one or two, but dozens. Were they part of a lost mythos, or eyewitness records etched in stone? The more we uncover, the less we understand. In the frozen soil of Siberia, where permafrost preserves bodies for millennia, a shocking discovery was made. Human remains missing their heads, buried in isolated graves with tools, charms, and markings etched into nearby stones. Radiocarbon dating places these burials thousands of years before written history. Some of the skeletons are well preserved, with clear signs that the heads were removed after death, carefully and ritually. Local folklore speaks of forest beings without faces, of ancient guardians that punished the wicked by stealing their heads. While that might sound like superstition, the alignment between myth and forensic reality is hard to ignore. Are we looking at ritual sacrifice, punishment, or something else entirely? As temperatures rise and more of Siberia thaws, archaeologists expect to find more of these silent tombs, frozen clues to a chilling and decapitated past. What connects all these cases? The temples in Mexico, the graves in Britain, the reliefs in Cambodia, the carvings in Nubia, and the icy tombs of Siberia, all pointing to a global phenomenon. Too widespread to be coincidence, too deliberate to be random. Could it be that ancient humans across the globe encountered something they couldn't explain, and immortalized it the only way they knew how, in rituals, in stone, and in story? Whether through shared fear, collective imagination, or direct experience, the pattern of headless beings haunts our past like a shadow we can't quite shake. Modern archaeology gives us tools to unearth bones and stones, but interpreting what they mean is another story entirely. Perhaps the real discovery is not in the artifacts themselves, but in the questions they force us to ask. We may never know the full truth, but the evidence is growing, and it demands attention. Were the legends of headless creatures just fantasy, or warnings passed down through time, encoded in the ruins of fallen empires? The mystery remains, and now it's yours to solve. Drop your theory in the comments below, subscribe for more investigations like this one, and don't forget, sometimes history whispers through the silence, and through what's missing.